Something I love about the start of the anime Angel Beats is how it begins during the nighttime. The setting of this series, a strange and absolutely massive high school, feels even stranger and more captivating at this time of day. And it shows this boy, and he doesn't know where he is or who he is even, being immediately recruited by a girl to join some sort of group. And then she points a gun at another girl's head. When he decides not to go along with her antics, he decides to ask the other girl about the strange nature of the place, and he gets stabbed in the chest for his trouble. Opening up in a new scene, the series introduces him for the first time as Otonashi. The girl he first met is Yuri, the leader of the Afterlife Battlefront. They're a group of kids who've all died and ended up in this place that resembles a high school. There's little more explanation for how they got there, but the one thing they know for certain is that they want nothing to do with the system the school lays out, and so they fight against it. The other girl that Otonashi was talking to is only known by them as Angel. She's the main obstacle to their rebellion. To demonstrate, they hold a concert with a band made up from several members of the group, and briefly have a run-in with Angel, who has all sorts of powers to make herself completely unkillable. I guess with an entire cast of characters who've died, the most compelling part of the story could be exploring who these kids are and how they ended up in the afterlife. And for several non-consecutive episodes, it does. The next episode features a mission where they have to descend to an underground guild where their remaining members are building all their weapons. Yuri and Otonashi stop midway where she tells him about the terrible things that happened to her and her siblings. Some burglars broke in and threatened to kill them if Yuri doesn't bring back something valuable, since their family is so wealthy. But she's too late, so they kill all her siblings. Jesus Christ, it's an almost comically cruel backstory for a character to be revealed so soon. Later episodes give time to other characters, like Yui, a hyperactive girl who in life was confined to her bed due to illness. She has ambitions for all sorts of sports and physical feats, but her greatest wish is to be a bride. Obviously, she feels like no one could ever love her like that when it means that they would have to take care of her for life. But whenever I come back to this series, the character's story that gets me more than any other is Iwasawa. She's the lead singer of the band Girls Dead Monster, which serves as a distraction for the student body of the school and a great deal of the soundtrack to the series. She grew up in a home with a violent and abusive father, but music gives her an escape and a dream. She starts to play for people on the street and begins to find success, but then she gets hurt trying to protect her mother from her father's outbursts, and she ends up losing her hearing. In the afterlife, she's able to fulfill her dream of playing in a band to the cheers of an entire crowd of people. At the end of her episode, she plays an entirely new song, one written and composed straight from the heart, and disappears right before the crowd. Besides being a heartfelt send-off for this character, it gives the rest of the cast and the viewer more reason to think about the purpose of the world they've been sent to. The other strength of this series to me is how funny it is in a silly and stupid way. As the group descends into the guild early on, they run into a variety of insane and lethal traps, like rolling rocks and laser pits and such. These kids are in the afterlife, so they just come back to life after dying, but it still hurts to die, and the series plays it off as a gag every time one of them falls. There's lots of other silly moments in the series where the characters get to goof off and take things less seriously. The tone of this series fluctuates pretty wildly as a result, and maybe that's what makes the more emotional moments so heavy. Another episode has Otonashi and a few others playing a baseball game against the school's team, largely due to Yuri's whims. Their team is a ragtag bunch of goofballs who barely have enough people to play, let alone who know how to actually strategize. Then they find out Angel is the captain of the team. The episode is pretty silly until one of their members, Kanade, has a flashback to his time in life where he was a catcher on his team and fails to catch a winning ball. But for all the things I love about Angel Beats, the series has some big gaping flaws. One problem is the series' constant need to introduce new villains, since that's the best way to drive conflict and have the characters participate in big flashy gunfights. Angel herself is a fine villain until they plot to undermine her position as the school's student president by messing with her test scores, after which Otonashi takes the chance to talk to her and find out her name, which is Kanade. They have this nice moment where they get to talk to each other and see how Kanade is just a normal student like the rest of them, but this puts them at odds with the new student president, Naoi. The replacement of Kanade, a relatively benign person unless specifically provoked, is meant to be a tense and dramatic change as Naoi takes her place as student president. He pretended to be a background character in the world, but now confronts the battlefield front members and slaughters them with a squad of NPC students. He has some sort of hypnosis powers and uses them to re-traumatize Yuri with visions of her dead family. But Otonashi confronts him and gets to hear his own story. Naoi was the twin brother of a gifted potter. After his brother dies, he is made to take his place and pretend like he is his own brother. He just can't live up to his father's harsh expectations until his father gets sick and can't teach him anymore. Now he's soft and kind, but weak, and Naoi can't run the studio himself. It makes it feel like his whole life was a waste, living in another person's shoes, and then losing the one thing he wanted to make his father proud. But Otonashi, he says, "Well, I think you're great, Naoi. You still lived a life worth living." And I don't know. It's all in a single episode, so Naoi's introduction and resolution feels very rushed. But there's other issues too, like, oh no, a bunch of evil angel clones are running around the school, and the kids have to go back into the guild where Yuri fights evil angel one-on-one. Or, oh no, the world is malfunctioning and now the NPCs are turning into scary shadow monsters. It's super disjointed and easy to miss a moment of character development for the few that get it. Again, it doesn't seem like the series needs all of these new antagonists when the characters' past lives seem like they could be enough for a story by themselves. But despite the wild and uneven pacing of the series, it manages to build a pretty compelling story about a bunch of kids stuck in the afterlife and all fighting against whatever forces they believe are responsible for making their lives turn out so terribly. Even Otonashi begins to find out about his own past, courtesy of Naoi's hypnotism. It tells about his life working odd jobs to take care of his sister while she's in the hospital, living for basically no other purpose until she passes away. Her death motivates him to go to a university so he can study to become a doctor, but his train derails and causes him and all the other passengers to die in a crash. This is not the whole of his story, but the realization is sobering for Otonashi and leads him to want to help the rest of the kids find their happiness in the world so that they can pass on. He gets to talk to Kanade and finds out that she has the same goal as him, to help the kids rather than oppose them. They believed she was an enemy and fought back against her, and she only developed her weapons to protect herself. But Kanade is also totally inept in communication, so it wasn't until Otonashi talked to her that they found out she's not an enemy. There's even an episode where they go fishing and Kanade gets a chance to spend time with the rest of the students in the guild. Just a couple episodes left from the finale. The last opposition they face is a bunch of shadowy monsters spawning and duplicating out of the NPCs. The show kind of fast forwards a bunch of the kids passing on, so just a few will be left for the finale. It also shows off the other half of Otonashi's story, where he leads the survivors of the train crash and gives them hope, and even convinces them to sign up as organ donors in the event of their deaths. But he dies right before the rescue efforts manage to free them. As the remaining kids fight off the monsters, Yuri finds a secret tunnel underground and goes for one more descent. In fact, with the number of times the show returns to Yuri's story, I'd almost believe that I'm mistaken about the protagonist being Otonashi and that Yuri is the main lead. In the old guild, Yuri finds some guy standing before a wall of computers and hanging around like a villain waiting for the hero to confront him. And this guy, he says a lot of things that hint at ambition or obsession and love, and I've watched the episodes enough times that I have a faint idea what he's talking about, but it's just not enough. This seems like it should be the moment where Neo talks to the architect in the Matrix, or whatever character it was, that explains the entire nature of the simulation they're in. It does seem possible to me that the world is some kind of digital simulation rather than divine. I mean, Kanade uses a computer to make all her weapons, and other details like the way they refer to the other students as NPCs, but there's not enough time to explain the whole thing. And the final episode has Yuri waking up to find that the monsters are gone, as are most of the people in the school. There's only herself, Naoi, Hinata, Kanade, and Otonashi. They hold a graduation for themselves, leading to the last few of their number passing on to the next life, until it's just Kanade and Otonashi. Here's where the story makes the final twist of the knife. Otonashi's last action before he died was to give his organs as a donor. We learn that Kanade was the beneficiary of his last choice, and she knew that from the moment they met when she found out that he had no heart. Of course, she could tell that he was the one who had given her the heart. There's even a hint in the opening theme, which is called My Soul, Your Beats. I mean, it's even in the title, Angel Beats. Kanade's one wish is to thank the person who gave her life. And in the final moments of the show, she gets the chance, at the cost of disappearing right before Otonashi. It's a heavy way to end the series, to say the least. It's just the thing I love about this anime. In spite of its problems, which become more obvious as I continue to rewatch it, Angel Beats has a raw and powerful emotional core to it. I thought I might have outgrown this series somehow, but parts of it still make me feel just as strongly as I did when I first watched it. I just changed my mind about which parts those were. There are other aspects of the show that I love too. The music is a beautiful collection of themes characterized mostly by piano melodies, all from the composer Jun Maeda. My favorite theme from the opening being the opening theme I already mentioned. It's performed by a singer who is only known, at least from what I could find on my anime list, as Leah. She's credited with songs in other series too, like Charlotte, Kanade, Canon, Air, and School Rumble. The ending is a softer, slower theme by singer Aoi Tada, who is credited in a few anime themes as well as voice roles for funny little Digimon and Ed from Cowboy Bebop. Both songs are great, showing off all the main cast of the series, but it's a bit frustrating when I look at the ending and count 19 kids alone, the most visible segment of the battlefront which probably numbers in the dozens. There's 19 of them that are consistently present for parts or most of the series. I can name less than half of them, and only about 6 get time to show their whole story. There's this other detail I've heard about the series being meant for a 2-core or 26 episodes, but only being able to make 1 core of 13. That would explain why it feels so incomplete. But I had to go looking for the source of this claim when I realized that I had no idea where I'd heard it. I've seen it quoted in all sorts of discussion on the internet about the series. I did find this post on the Stack Exchange, albeit from a couple of people talking about it 11 years ago. It speculates that it may have only been an assumption that the series was supposed to be longer, or that the creators didn't have enough time to put the entire story in. They use this quote from the TV Tropes page, which suggests that the series could have been longer due to how few characters got any time to reveal their story. The thing is, there's a massive amount of extra material for this series, even though it was originally written as an anime. I'd like to talk about how you access the extensive realm of content related to Angel Beats. Unfortunately, it's not a simple matter. The first of them is Heaven's Door, a manga series by Jun Maeda and others meant to expand on the series of these characters. While it has been licensed for an English release by Seven Seas Entertainment, it seems the release of volumes has been stalled, and personally, I'm not optimistic about its chances of continuing. There's a Reddit thread about the series, which you can find along with all of my sources and other sites, linked in the Last Operation, another manga that's meant to extend the story of the Afterlife Battlefront. It has little more than a page that confirms its existence on My Anime List, which says it started publishing in 2017. And after a little bit of digging online, I found it, although I'm not sure if I should tell you where I found it. Next is First Beat, a visual novel that was made to tell more of the stories of the cast of the series. And it is with a heavy heart I inform you that this project was not completed either. It's a game that had its first volume released of 6 and seems to have been suspended indefinitely. You can read about it on Wikipedia and anywhere else you can find people talking about Angel Beats. There is a silver lining though. There is an English translation patch for the first volume released by the group Alka Translations. You can find their site and translation patch in the video's description. Here's a playlist by channel blueskydeams, who seems to have played the entire game with its translation. There's also a video that talks more about the game and how to download it by the August Hale. He has a channel focused on reviewing visual novels. He also has videos talking about the final thing I want to mention, Heaven Burns Red. It's a mobile game released on all platforms worldwide in 2024, with concept, main scenario, and music production by Maeda. For all the love I have for some of Maeda's work, I'm not sure if I want to download a mobile game just to see more of it, but I might check it out in the future, like all of these other parts of the Angel Beats extended universe that I've mentioned. For now, I think I've had enough of thinking and talking about Angel Beats. Thank you so much for listening to me try to communicate my feelings about this series.